started off working in a prison. So I did that for a little while, and I'm like, golly, it's tough being locked up, even if you work in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, 12-hour shifts and you locked up, just like those guys are, and you really get to talk to them and hear their story. And I don't know, you get to know them, right? Because they live there and, hey, I just work here, so I'm just passing through. You guys are, doing time for a decision you made, and you get to hear what it's like after they made the decision. And the majority of them came to the solution that they wish somebody along the way would have just said, hey, it might not be a good idea. There's a different way of going about life. Or there's a different way of looking at a problem, right? Um, so I was like, who am I helping here?
Yeah.
So where can I take the skills that I've learned in here and make it useful? So I had a couple of buddies that was, doing the police thing here and there. And I was like, I think I can do that. So I decided to
Nice.
do it. And I went from Alabama to Georgia. So I started working at Atlanta Police. And it was cool, but I didn't like locking up Black people. And it bothered me so much that it was like, golly, only people I'm locking up is us.
Yeah.
I'm filling the beds that become vacant in the jail that I just left, or in the prison that I just left, because those people would actually get time. So it's it was hard. It was really hard just because it's like, we should do better, we could do better, but nobody is really helping us do better.
Yeah,
I think the system is kind of built for failure.
right. Yeah, it's like, especially being in the levels of the system, where you were,
Right.
in the prison guard for a while and then started to be a police officer. It's like, it's just like it's like the funnel. It's like, this is just making way for this. It's like, where's the rehabilitation? Where's the education going on to where we
Right.
can get in front of these decisions so that, we can take those 10-second pauses or that deep breath or whatever it is that helps us. But yeah, I can imagine that's just a cycle that we're just like, man, I'm just perpetuating the cycle.
Yeah, which
That's
makes
it,
me
right?
think about like taking us back to what it was like for you growing up. Like,
hmm
where did you grow up?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Alabama.
It's a tough
Okay.
place.
Yep. Yeah.
And growing up, what do you remember what it was like being a little boy or a young man, like
Oh
seeing
yeah.
people in your
Oh yeah.
community and the relationship to, like, we'll call it authority?
Uh, the thing about, I guess, my experience with how I look at life is there's cause and effect, right? Yes, the system isn't great, but did we have something to do with it? Yeah. But it also goes all the way down to, did I have a support system? Did I have someone
Mm.
of positive influence to help me, through life? Because that's the majority of what I see the miscommunication is, or the where people messing up at. They
Hmm.
just don't know how to navigate life, and life is getting more and more complicated, more and more expensive,
Right.
to do. So therefore, and they don't have the tools and the people to help support them go up and above. So what are we doing? So it's like, ah,
Yeah.
how can I help? I can help by being there when you have a problem. Who you call? You call the police. All
Yeah.
right, cool. I can put my 2 cents in. If somebody got to go to jail, you have to go to jail. I can't do nothing about certain stuff.
hmm
But if I can plant the seed in order for you to not call the police so much, not be in these situations, that's how I thought, yeah, maybe I can do it this way, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, growing up, did you have, like in your family structure and your community structure, did you have, those kind of mentors like you're talking about, to where somebody could be like, hey, Maurice, this is not the way we're humaning right now. Like, this is aggravation, or, hey, why don't you try this approach instead? Like, was it a brother, a sister, aunt, uncle, whatever, family member, maybe just a close teacher or something? Was there somebody in your life that was able to kind of give you a little bit of that guidance?
Who do you
Or
give credit to the fact
what?
that you're living life in alignment with morale and not getting into trouble.
Oh no, I got into my share of trouble. It wasn't, trust me, I heard this from an inmate when I was working. He's the only difference between me and you is you didn't get caught.
I feel that. I feel that.
I respect it all day because it really makes you look back at self and at all the things that people say are illegal or immoral or, just doesn't reach their standard. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
difference, right? So I learned from everybody else's mistakes. That's kind of how I navigated my life. I'm like, oh, that person just got in trouble for this. I don't think I want that.
Mm.
I know that my mom don't like this thing. Okay, cool. If I keep staying on her good side, I get A, B, C, and D. I kind of saw that at an early age, so that's kind of how I moved.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of race-based stuff didn't bother me, but I experienced it through first, kindergarten through sixth, seventh grade was pretty much all predominantly black schools. And then the older I got, I started getting into other communities where it's like, oh, snap. I never seen this. I never, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then you kind of see the bullshit that kind of comes with that, right?
Mm.
And it either makes you or break you, I think. And I was one of the people that kind of, why you act like this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you for it. It ain't my life. It's not my hate to carry around. I'm curious.
That's a beautiful approach. It's not my hate to carry around. Like that is such there's so much times like we're all of a sudden like somebody dumps something on you and it's like, I don't, just like you said, I don't have to carry what you just said. Like I don't have to believe, I don't have to own up to it or like just believe in this. So I'm just going to not ignore it. I'm just going to not even acknowledge it,
Yeah, I don't have to. I tell people you have to protect your energy. That's the only thing that you have before you get out of this world is your energy and how you treat other people. That's it.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting the way that it can seem so simple, especially as we're just like chatting all nonchalant, right? Like, and in society, the way that the world others people is so radical. Like I think for those of us who don't want any part of it, it seems so pointless and infuriating at times. And so I'm curious, like having that mentality, I think what I want to point out that my brain goes to is like, so you went to predominantly black schools until like 7th, 8th grade. I think the way that I analyze that is that you had all of those years to feel really grounded in yourself and in your community and not feel, quote unquote, separate or other. And so then by the time that idea was presented to you, you were like, that doesn't resonate for me, right? But for maybe somebody else who grew up in a different situation, like I know my elementary school experience, there was one mixed kid. I wanted to make him my boyfriend. It was hilarious. So that was where I grew up out in the sticks. But then when I was in the city, which is where my mom was, and I grew up with mostly black and brown people, I lived in a Navy town. So the diversity was beautiful, right? There was a balanced amount of all different types of races and cultures and communities. And in my perspective, which may be very different from somebody who had a different experience, is they were all equally celebrated. And I can tell you that the conversations that I've had with friends and people in my life where they are like one of two persons of color in a swarm of white people, they don't have that same capacity to feel as resilient when the othering is being projected at them. So I am curious, being on the inside now of, the police force, like how do you address, like, well, I guess I should ask first, do you have family members that have something to say about it? And if so, like, how do you address that?
See, my family members, they know, they all are in shock that I even do this and still do this, right?
Because how many years? Right? How many years have you been in?
12 years in now.
Okay.
So, and that's just policing. That's not even corrections.
Mm-hmm.
So, So they are in shock that I still do it, but they're happy that I do it because they know how I see life.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, it's a relief now that they're older. But when it first happened, my dad was like, "You doing what? Nah, we're not doing this." I was like, "Well, are you gonna pay the bills? What's some got to give, bro?" So he was like, "You know what? Just do what you want to do." Then it's like, all right. My
Yeah.
mom, of course, was like, "Nah." She heard the worst of the worst, especially being from Birmingham. Come on now,
I'm about
so
to say
Yeah.
Birmingham. I mean, growing
crazy.
up in
Yeah,
man.
Did your
yeah.
parents grow up there?
Oh, of course. And
Yeah.
I'm born in 1990, so they grew up in it.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. But now, everybody's kind of grown with it. They look for me for advice now, which is kind of good. They look at me through a different perspective than it was when I first started,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. So I get to see the growth in them. So,
Yeah.
and that's even hard to it's
Well,
kind of crazy to actually say out loud and think about it because I haven't actually thought about it like that. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's
it's
shocking.
kind of cool.
Yeah, as shocking as that might be, like as the waters start to cool down and like everything starts to go back to what normal needs to be, I think
Hmm.
that there might be like this, like, man, thank God Maurice is part of this, right? Because like you just said, like we know him, we know how he like his constitution, how he acts, how he shows up. Like we
Right.
need somebody like Maurice in the police force because we trust him and we understand, like, so it's like, there's like, almost when the shock and awe goes away, it's like almost like a comfort. Like I feel comforted that somebody that I know this intimately well, and
Exactly.
the mentality of this person is influencing a place that has been demonized and looked down upon for many, many years, especially more recently. Right.
Mm.
So it's like, man, it's a good thing that we know somebody that's good in that, and that's doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I try to tell people because a lot of stuff do falls back on race, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just, it is what it is as far as our calls go. You go to a call and they quick to say, "Oh, you the black man, you against us, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, bro, wouldn't you rather me be here to make sure you get treated fairly than just them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think there's a
And
narrative
it,
out there that, and I've heard it, and I'll be honest, there's maybe even a part of me that's even shared this idea at times, which is part of why I wanted to be able to sit down and have this conversation with you. But there is this narrative out there that's like, you quoting like people of color in any kind of law enforcement have been brainwashed. And
no.
part of my experience or the way that my mind has collected evidence towards that idea is like I've spent time, which actually I think you and I talked about this. I spent time, and I won't identify specifically where because I don't want to call anybody out, but I've spent time with people of color that have lived in, we'll just say, more conservative parts of the world. And the way that they operate is very filtered and like almost like conforming to obviously keep themselves safe. And so it's very convincing to them that they're not essentially abandoning themselves and their culture and their way of life to be in that environment. But I had this person who we had some, we'll just say, challenging conversations around the political climate. And they're also part of a particular religion. And his response to talking about like racism and the impact of what's going on with ICE and things like that, he was like, "I have a black friend at my church and he says that he doesn't feel this way." And I'm
Not the
like,
one black friend.
yeah, I'm like, so the one black friend that goes to church with thousands of
Right.
white people doesn't want to fight against your way of thinking, like. And so that would be my question, I guess, to pose to you. Like, how do you handle people projecting their assumptions at you around, like, we'll say, sticking your head in the sand or being brainwashed or not honoring, like, your position in your culture?
Oh, I just tell them, "Hey, you yelling at the badge and I completely respect it. You're not yelling at me. You don't know me. You
Mm,
just see the badge and you see that the person wearing the badge is not the color you want them to be.
mm,
Completely understandable.
Hmm.
But this is where we are, bro. And I'm going to help you through whatever this problem is. You just got to open your eyes and see that, or open your ears and see that, right? Um, so when it's thrown at me, it don't bother me because I get it. I get it. You feel me? I'm like, hey, I was the kid acting the same way at the age that they are, right? So,
Yeah.
and thinking the way, that it was at the time. And at some point, it's just going to be a chapter in their book. The thing is, I want to be the one that be like, that officer wasn't an asshole because I said A, B, C, and D.
Right.
He just kind of made me look at it from a different lens. And I appreciated that because nobody want to be told that they're wrong,
Right.
but they do want to be told, hey, this is a different route if you want to look at it this way.
Yeah.
Either they're going to take it or they're not. It's up to them. I just got to present it, right? So it's a lot of me ego aside stuff. It's a lot of it's not me. It's really not me because nobody knows me.
And is that stuff that you feel like you learned from inside? Like, has the police force given you tools or trainings on how to cope with these things, or is this stuff you've developed on your own?
Nah, this stuff I've developed on my own. Just from, like I said, I look at people from a position. If I was in your position, would I do the same thing? Not if I would have, would I made the choices to lead up to there, because then that's different. But if I was here right now with what you presented, with what they're giving me, would I have made that choice? Maybe if I didn't know anything else. You know what I'm saying? I only could use what's in my toolbox. So it's a lot of, I don't know. I feel for them. And then at the same time, I'm like, hey, so you got to take accountability. So
yeah,
I'm kind of both there, but I'm not the one that, I don't rage bait with the race thing. I don't fall into the race thing. I'm like, yeah, you can say it. It's cool. It's funny. Say one I haven't heard, and I laugh. But if you want to grow from it, I'm here with you. But if you want to joke, we can joke. I'm not here to make the experience worse than what it is.
Yeah.
Because I ain't here to judge you. It's your experience. It's your life. It's how you live it. I'm just a black guy with the badge that showed up.
Right.
And now you're mad at me because you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
I ain't tripping. The job teaches us this in ways, in parts. But I think if that officer or, if that person that's helping people in a position, in a job of helping people isn't genuinely interested in how the animalistic version of a person works and how to respond to that, they shouldn't do what they do. But the job gives us here, a little bit of this, and this. If you dig into it, you dig into it, because the training and opportunity is out there, but they don't force you to or mandate you to go get that and be genuinely interested in it. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does, and I love that you're bringing that up, because there's so much research and understanding, quote, understanding about the way the brain works. And a lot of what we're finding is that and I hate to say this without like being able to cite where to go look and prove this, but we're not really responsible for our actions. Like there's a lot of things that are happening before we even know that they're happening within our brain.
Yeah.
Like there's tests now that show our brain has 10-second head start on any decision we've ever actually made. So like if my brain already says I'm going to do this thing while I'm like still pulling a trigger or swinging a bat or doing something, malicious, is that person really responsible? Because like technically it's happening before they actually even did it. So there's like so much stuff. So just like having that understanding and having that lens just to bring in and say, okay, this is what's happening now, but I can see that there's things that led up to this. So how do we just get back to a place of stasis so that we can have a civilized conversation and then we figure this shit out?
Right.
Yeah.
People don't go there because they are too wrapped up in what they see, right? And they have to understand that the stuff that they see and what their mind tells them isn't always the truth. Your body is going to protect you. So if you grew up in a predominantly white area and you see a black person, you feel a type of way about a black person, not knowing the person, just that person is black.
Right.
Your body may tense. Your heart rate may do this, and it might take you those 10 seconds. And will somebody be like, "Yo, wait a minute, I'm tripping. This is that, and it's not that."
Yeah.
But a lot of people in our country have not been there. They got the internet, but when they got the internet, they only went to whatever places that, thought how they thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and then the algorithm's like, oh, this is what you like. Cool. I'm gonna just keep feeding you what you like. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now you're back in the same place, but you have a big broader people that just think what you think. So
Right.
they still don't grow from, what their great, 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 great grandparents taught them to hate.
Yeah.
And we as people today of awareness need to learn to forgive and give grace, which we don't, because again, it's not too long ago where, they was
God.
holding people and sticking dogs with people that we got to be like, oh yeah, we got to forget. No, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
hey,
that's part of the conversation
nothing new
that,
under the sun.
yeah, like, when I think about systemic racism and like the funnel, right? And
Mhm.
I wish I would have been more prepared for this, but to have the conversation around like the statistics of Black and brown arrests versus white arrests and that kind of thing.
Oh, it depends where you live.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
being inside, do you have an opportunity? I guess, well, opportunity would be one way of looking at it. Do you have a desire to even have those types of conversations with your coworkers and like learning about how they feel and think and operate,
Oh
just
yeah.
being that you work together?
Oh yeah. That's why I became a supervisor. When I first started this, I never wanted to be a supervisor.
Mm,
Never had a desire. I'm like, chill, coast, plant my seed. I'm good here.
mm,
Coast, right? And I came out here and I'm like, okay, same plan, chill, coast, da da da. And I got to see how some people treated people, and I'm like, bro, you ain't got to do all of that. This is just how these particular people act.
mm,
It's nothing towards you. You just so happen to be here.
Hmm.
Chill. Figure out how to communicate with them. But how it works in this job or career, it's this whole hierarchy ranking thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Cool. I ain't here to stir the boat. Like I said, I'm chilling. I'm all about my peace because I go to other people's chaos daily.
Mm.
So my peace is where top priority for me. Um, so I was like, okay, how to go about it? I can promote. Hmm. And that's what I told them at the promotion. I was like, yo, I just want to help people, deal with people because it seems like they don't know how to deal with people. They out here trying to manage people's lives, and that's not our job.
yeah.
Wow.
It's not my job to manage your life. If I can help you plant a seed for you to take with it and, grow and do what you need to do, that's what I need to do.
Mm,
I'm not here to hold your hand throughout the way and be there for your every beck and call because you can't handle problems that somebody else was supposed to teach you how to handle.
Mm-hmm.
right.
But if I have to, cool. I'm gonna do it in a way where it's actually going to help you and not make you depend on me.
Yeah.
Or make you hate me, right? So now every time you call me, you hate me or you hate anybody that looks like me.
Right.
And the problem is people come in there and they try to fix a problem and they don't know how to listen to the problem. Like, figure it out. Understand that it don't take a punching hand to fix problems. Sometimes you got to just reach out and be like, all right, cool. Let me just
Mhm.
walk you across the room and talk to you.
Hmm.
Because nobody ever walked you over there and said, hey, let me tell you how to deal with this.
It's like that teach a man to fish idea, right? Let me teach
Right.
you how to fish instead of just giving you the fish all the time. Like, let me teach you how to
Exactly.
like emotionally regulate yourself in some kind of way. Let me give you a tool. It might not be all the tools,
Exactly.
but it's a starting point. Dip a toe in, right?
It's something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we get younger officers and they wasn't coming with the communication to do that. They was only being told, hey, this is the law. This is breaking the law.
Hmm.
And they wasn't understanding discretion and understanding how to use the things that people have went through and help it encourage them to do better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To be a better person in society, even if they don't want to contribute to society.
Yeah.
Just be better that you're out here so you won't be the issue.
Welcome, love. If you're feeling the pull to remember your power, soften your body, and return to your truth, I invite you into my world of healing arts and transformational coaching. I'm Awa Wild, intuitive guide, energy medicine woman, and creator of Sensuous Revival Healing Arts. I help individuals and couples release old patterns, dissolve shame, reconnect with pleasure, and rise into a more liberated life. Through sacred pelvic healing, somatic practices, intuitive body talk, and emotional integration, you'll learn to listen to your body, trust your intuition, and create relationships that feel nourishing and aligned. Whether you work with me one-on-one, join a retreat, or step into my online program, you'll receive an experience of deep presence, compassionate guidance, and practices that create lasting change. If your soul is ready for more freedom, more pleasure, and deeper truth, I'm here. Learn more at sensuousrevival.com or reach out directly to begin your journey.
Well, as a supervisor now, like, again, I love people that want to do the job, doing the job. Like, I want to make a difference. I want to try to make bring up these younger folks that are coming up without the tools, right?
To help.
To help, period, right? So, in your, as a supervisor, for yourself or for the people that you're working with, do you have tools that kind of help, get to people, whether it's like, okay, so you're green, you're brand new, you're a rookie. First off, I'm going to teach you how to breathe, right? I'm going to teach you how to take some deep breaths before you even reach for cuffs or guns or tasers or anything. We're going to breathe first or whatever it is, right? So do you have things that like you kind of help people walk through to emotionally regulate themselves so they can be the best version? I make them
talk to people.
Okay.
Yeah, I make them talk to people because that's the only... Yeah, I make them talk to people. As long as they're talking to people and it's not a call, it's just a, hey, how you doing? How's your day? I tell my officers, go get to know someone else at work. Like me, I sit around at a gas station the majority of the time because I get to know everybody that come in and out. It's to the point now where sometimes I'll bring people up and they just be like, what the? I'm like, yeah. I was like, hey, I sit here long enough. It happens. Right. So if you ever want to see me bring you up, 76 off of Arco, the 76 in Factoria, I usually be hanging out there.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Right. So
that's actually kind of funny. Now I'm super curious. Like, what kind of crime is actually happening in that area? Because I used to live in Eastgate.
Not a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, I mean, we get stuff, but it's going further than where I hang out at now. Because now they know I'm going to be here. They know that he knows pretty much everybody in this area just from hanging out, talking to people, saying good morning, saying hey, and you can do that.
Dealing with the high schoolers
while you drink a coffee. Right? Yeah. It's been plenty of high schoolers came in. They was like, yeah, let me get $5 on this. $5 gas is $6 a gallon. Hey, Mark, put another $5 on there. I got her. Go ahead.
Oh, there you go.
And they really appreciate stuff like that. And they come by, oh, hey, Officer Anthony, hey, so it's stuff like that I think makes a difference in the community because then they don't look at you like, oh crap, here's the cop. What's going on? They looking, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You having a good day? Blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. So I tell them you got to bridge the gap, and you don't really bridge the gap by going to calls. You bridge the gap by just talking to people.
Yeah.
Getting out of your car, talking to people, walk in the park. And so that's what I encourage. And I encourage books about, levels of awareness so that they can expand their awareness and they can just know that it's not about them.
Yeah.
That this entire life we live is on borrowed time and we need to be grateful and understand, hey, you chose this for a reason. You might not know the reason, but this is what you're doing. You're not here for yourself. Yeah. You're here to help other people, right?
Man, when I was growing up, I grew up in Houston and in the 80s and 90s, and I was doing nefarious kid shit back in the day. So like all the times I got pulled over, like I probably deserved it, right? Hassle, quote unquote, hassle by cops, whatever. But just to speak to what you just said about just going up and talking to people and talking to like your community and stuff like that, like that was not around. Like the only cops that ever talked to us as children were
Dare.
Dare, exactly. Was either I was getting fucked with or it was Dare, right?
Yeah, they were told to do it or you was causing chaos.
Exactly, right? And so like into my 40s, I'm 45 years old now, but let's say into my late 30s, early 40s, I would still get nervous every time I saw a police officer, whether I was getting pulled over, whether it was just and I worked at nightclubs. I was on first name basis with a lot of police officers.
Right.
And I would call them and they would show up and I'm like, oh shit, man, what have I got on me? And I'm like, oh, dude, fucking calm down. Right. And so it
I'll
took
be
me
on the freeway up here sometime and be like, oh crap.
right.
So
Oh,
I feel you.
Yeah, it's just nice to normalize the badge and normalize, it takes it from that connotation of authority figure to like
Right.
this person that's here to help and make sure you stay safe, right? And
That's
they're
all
there
it
if you
is.
need it, right?
Yeah.
Man,
I do want to bring up, like, as you're talking about your history and we've been listening to your experience as a white woman, my experience with cops has only been problematic when it's been with female cops. And this may come back to bite me later, but small white men. Every other experience that I've had with a brown or black cop has always been rather pleasant. And, I was a hoodlum growing up. I was constantly getting in fights. And I remember one time I got into a fight at a club. And because I was a regular there, the cop who was there knew me, like, right, we were, again, first name basis. He brought me ice for my fist. Like,
it happens.
I got great
I've worked
treatment.
a lot of bars.
Yeah.
It happens.
And so what's interesting is, like, we can cover the topic of, like, what is it like for you to be a black man inside the police force? My bigger concern is, like, how do we actually address racism from within and deal with the people who aren't there to help? Like, that's my pain point, because I will tell you, where I look at this, the lens that I look at the relationship to authority and police officers comes from conditioning. Like, that's the lens that I'm looking through, at least in part of this conversation. So I was conditioned to believe I'm a pretty girl, so I'm going to get away with things. And it's true. I think at one point I counted how many times I'd been pulled over before I'd ever been ticketed, and it was 13 times.
See, that's why. My number one rule when I first became a cop: all pretty girls get tickets.
Damn it!
All pretty girls.
I'm
get
sorry,
tickets.
girls. I'm sorry that I just fucked
Because
that up.
I knew they thought that already. I was
But
like,
here's the
no,
thing:
it's on here.
good for you.
is it because I wasn't worried that I didn't give off the energy to offend the officer, that I wasn't afraid of the person, but also I was willing to be honest about what it was that I was doing. Most of the time I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm aware. Like, I will do better. And you could say that was authenticity, or it was also blowing smoke. I don't know, because as a young woman, I would have said a lot of things. But
Hey, if it works, it works.
right. And like, I got pulled over recently when I was driving to Idaho to go visit my grandfather. And honestly, I was on cruise control. And like, this is funny because leaving the situation, I was like, I could have totally made this story up, but I don't lie well, ever, have never. And I have a fairly new vehicle, new to me. And so I was like, I knew that I was going over the speed limit, but I was also following traffic, and I had my cruise control setting. So I told him, I was like, I have no idea. I had it set. I was following traffic. And then, he said, is there a reason why you're in a rush? And I said, my grandfather's not doing well, and I'm driving to go be with him. But he took my driver's license, my registration, everything. And I, in the back of my head, I was like, fuck, I'm getting a ticket. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm out of state. They know I'm not going to come back to fight it. Like, I have all this story going on in my head. And he let me go. And I was so grateful. Like, I almost started crying because, the adrenaline's going. But also, I felt like I was genuine. And so,
Right.
The reason why I bring this up, that's what I was curious about, is like, if we are programmed to be in fear and to be defensive or to worry about the outcome, how does that actually impact the way that we communicate and therefore affect the outcome? So,
well, it's I guess it's the reason you got treated how you treated is because of a lack of confidence, right? Or a person who identifies himself with the badge instead of identifies himself as a person. So I apologize to you for that. We have a lot of that. I tell people a lot, hey, Chick-fil-A don't always hire the right person either. So sometimes we just don't catch it until, they do something, unfortunately.
Right.
Usually is on a lower level than, the other. So I hate it because it do make a bad name for everybody. And I'm like, bro, I'm not this person. Don't matter. Y'all work the same place. And I'm like, I get it. I have no arguments there. So for that, I do kind of hold some type of responsibility, but I don't carry it with me because, hey, I have a life outside of it, and I intend to understand that that is my identity, and this is just my job, and I understand that my job just so happened to line up with a purpose, not who I am. It's just what I do and how I have the ways in order to do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with all the laws, so therefore I'm definitely not going to say this is my identity and all right, you're wrong for going 2 miles above the speed limit and you should be, you should pay this fine. Don't care.
Yeah.
Get there safe, right? I'm all about safety. We need more people to be that way and understand it. They don't. It's the programming. It's because cops is interesting to watch as kids, and people think that that's how the police supposed to be.
Mm.
And it wasn't until after I actually got into it where I got to go to the briefings and hear other officers and how they are as people. They're like, no, I don't write anybody tickets unless, they fight it. I usually just say, hey, I pulled you over for this. If you tell me I'm wrong, I'm like, I wasn't even going to write you a ticket. I'm just telling you so you can be safe, not to be that, you know what I'm saying? Not to write you a ticket, just saying, hey, ma'am, slow down. You're going a little fast. It's a hill, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And keep it pushing. I don't even ask people where they're going. I don't care. It's irrelevant information to me. That's not why I pulled you over, because you're going somewhere. I pulled you over because of something you did that should be addressed. It's how they address it that I think you have power bunnies. I call them power bunnies.
Mm.
The the ones who go out and just be like, oh, I'm the cop in my city. No, it's not your city. You just live here.
Yeah.
And actually, you just rent space because this is the United States of America Incorporated. So
Right. Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
Once you're up out of here, you're out of here, boss. Be nice to thy neighbor before you're up out of here. Is all I got to say. And that neighbor's not always wearing blue, or whatever. Right? It's you. You got a heart. You got a soul. You can communicate. You have a sense of awareness. You are thy neighbor. I'm here to treat you as best I can and make life as easy as I can before I get up out of here. And if I can help before you get up out of here, right?
Yep.
And,
they
don't think that way.
Well, you make a good point. I mean, there's everybody in every type of field. Like I worked in restaurants for 20 years before I finally got out and was doing healing work. And in 20 years in restaurants, I met some amazing people that really had my best interest in mind. And I met some really horrible people that would fuck with people's foods.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, and it's like, not everybody does everything the right way. Not everybody does everything the wrong way. But, it's just so tough because y'all are put in such a light and there's such a focus that it's like, oh, all police are bad or all police are this or this, that, or whatever. So with that, like kind of that idea, it sounds like you've got a lot of good practices for yourself, and like you can kind of, I wouldn't even call it compartmentalize, but really separate yourself from the job and know that you're still Maurice, that Maurice has to do a job. So like, in being a supervisor, making sure like the people below you or within your team are performing to the way they want to. Like, how do you mentally kind of like get back into that place of stasis, kind of like let some of that shit go? Like, you've had a charged day or a charged call, like how do you get back into a mental space of where like, okay, cool, now I'm back to Maurice. I get that this thing happened. Again, you sound very ballance, but I'm sure it's still pretty, energizing at times, sensational at times, where you're like, fuck, man, that was a thing.
It happens. There's some days where some days are tougher than others. It's one of those where, I get to sit back and realize what I'm grateful for. So that brings me out of that place of chaos and back to, back home, back grounded. So I try to meditate more than I do, but I meditate. My daughter my son. I got kids, so
Yeah.
those two they keep me. They always bring me back because there's no problems in their world, right? There's none. And when I'm with them, I try to be in their world and not nowhere as far away from this as possible, right?
Yeah.
No adulting, no adult thoughts, just in their world. So for that, it helps me. I stay active, try to get out. I have people call me by, my first name or part of my last name or this, so I can, okay, I know this person from this realm. This is this group of friends. I don't talk about police stuff with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I hardly ever hang out with police. And if I do hang out with police, my rule is we don't talk about police.
I love
We
that.
don't talk about none of it.
Yeah.
Work is work. Everything else is life. And I want to know how you're doing in life. So I try to encourage everybody, especially the guys on my squad, to do that. I just think it's healthy, right? I think it's a healthy space to stay in because, we can get on social media and go right back to work.
Yeah.
Right. Whether we watching videos and talking about what he did wrong, how they should have handled this, you still back at work.
Yeah. Well, and then
So
you're feeding that confirmation bias you were talking about earlier, right? If we're always looking for our to reinforce our own answers, then we're going to live in those fields. There's a really interesting a social experiment this guy named Daniel Schmachtenberger did. So he's had a great name, right?
Say it again.
Daniel Schmachtenberger, fantastic guy. He's he's worked with different political offices. He's worked on individual stuff, different programs, all this different kinds of things. And he trained his algorithm in two different ways. So knowing that there's confirmation bias, especially with our algorithms, he trained his algorithm in two different ways. One, because he was working with a political party at the time, he wanted to train it to where it just showed police brutality videos, right, on his algorithm. So it was just showing, no context at all, just police being, brutal, right? And he would, monitor his emotional state. He would take notes about how he was feeling. But every time he opened his social media, it was some kind of police brutality. He did that for 2 weeks. And then he completely flipped his algorithm, and then he trained it to do like police doing nice things. So police saving puppies and cats from trees and little old ladies crossing the street and shit, right? And he would take down like how he felt, and he knew he was going through this. He knew that he was putting himself into this, and he still fell victim to the emotions every time.
Yeah.
So to like your point, it's like, God damn, no, we need to have these opportunities to where we're rehumanizing ourselves. We're reminding ourselves like, I am a human being. I'm not just always Officer Ant. I'm like this person, right? And this person sees another human being as a human being, not somebody that I need to police or need to protect.
Right.
Exactly. And it just it takes us out of that mentality for a little while, right?
Yeah, I think about, this reminds me of being a little kid and singing the song "You Are What You Eat." I don't know if you guys sang that in elementary school. You are what you eat, from your head to your feet, so be sure to eat what's good for you.
Okay, that's a new one to me.
Anyway.
I know, but I think I'm going to adopt that one now.
It goes on to talk about eating lots of meat, fruit, and vegetables too. Help you grow strong. Yes, that's what you'll do.
Love it.
Maybe doesn't work out so well for the vegans, but
we'll leave a YouTube link.
Yeah. Don't know who wrote the song. You guys can look it up. But what we consume greatly impacts us. And so this is where, the messaging around racism, the messaging around authoritative figures and structures, the messaging around political parties, the messaging around government, the messaging around community, we have to be willing to take responsibility for what we consume. And
big facts.
It's really fascinating to sit with people individually, right? Like I've been doing trauma coaching for 9 years now, and there isn't one person from one demographic, one, age bracket, one orientation of sexuality, gender, there's nothing that I have ever sat down and talked to a person where every single person hasn't experienced discrimination, pain, suffering, separation, othering, guilt, shame. Like these are human experiences. It doesn't matter. And I think what a lot of people, and I can attest to this as a woman right now with what is being highlighted in the media, is when there's confirmation of an experience, yes, there's pain, but there's also validation, which can create empowerment to make things different. And so when I hear, you, Maurice, being a Black man in the police force and having come from the experience of being in the prison system, like there's nothing more that I want than for people who have experienced hardship to be in the position where what you identified as a police officer is being there to help. And I think I've been conditioned to believe that a lot of police officers move into that position because they want to be in power. And that is such a different foundation and motivation as to like why someone would be in that space. And so knowing that there are people like yourself that are willing to be projected at, right? I love that you said, I get it, you're yelling at the badge, like huge for you to be able to separate those things. And I can also imagine like if you have 12 people yelling at the badge in one day, at some point you may feel like you're fragile or you're going to break or more tired, or at some point there's
I don't mean to cut you off, but when 12 people yelling at the badge, sometimes it's a reason to yell at the badge. And you have to be that one because you signed up for, hey, I'm gonna help y'all through y'all crap. If we get some crappy people that make some crappy decisions and uproar begins, I'll have to provide a safe space for the uproar. And if you have to yell at me, I signed up for this. And there's been times where I want to stand over there, or I've envisioned myself standing over there yelling at the badge too. So it's like I say, we are human and we don't always make the best decisions, but it comes with it. So it's hard.
And to that point, man, I love that you said that, because to that point, all it takes is one person to change somebody's mind. Like when I was growing up, like I growing up in Houston, again, like in the 80s and 90s, like police were police. Like there wasn't as many, like every generation gets a little like more maybe aware of the the emotional states, things like that, maybe approaches, right? But I'll take we had an introduction of school police, right? And it was basically an off-duty police officer that just like sat at our front door and just made sure we didn't smell like weed smoke when we came in. And we're like, right? And so we called him John Wayne. And he was this tall, skinny white dude, and big cowboy hat. He had his guns out and shit, right? Classic stuff, right? And he would literally like we'd walk into school and he would snatch you by the shirt, didn't even say anything to you, just put out his little skinny ass hand, grab you, and pull you over and just take a whiff. And then he just either put you aside and be like, go back to class, or like he'd throw you over and then be like, we're gonna talk, you smell like something, right? And so like and growing up around that, like I definitely had my opinions. Again, I was a nefarious child. I was doing shit that I deserved to get fucked with, but at the same time, and I didn't realize I carried that, because again, like I had mentioned earlier, I worked in nightclubs. I was around police officers, paramedics, fire department, all that stuff all the time because of the crazy ass place I worked. But I never really had a conversation with. It was always I needed something from this person, or they needed to help me with something. Right. It wasn't until I found, like, I befriended a police officer that I didn't even know was a police officer at the time. He was like a mug club member at one of the restaurants I worked at. And we talked over the years. And then he was like, oh, I'm excited. I just got this promotion. I'm going to be working at a high school as a police officer. And I looked at it. I'm like, oh, my God, I know you're a police officer. And you're working at a high school.
I liked you until now.
Right. I kind of felt like that. But then it was so beautiful because like I was able to have a conversation with him and tell him my experience with school police. And he shared me with his, and I'm like, well, I've known you now this amount of time. This whole time you've been a cop, I just didn't know. I feel safe. I feel good about you being at a school with children around them to do the job that I felt like John Wayne was supposed to do to keep us safe. And so like but it took me having that conversation 20 years later with another person to say like, oh shit, that's not, everybody's not like that. And so like just you saying that, just like having conversations with people, like you said earlier, like telling your police officers, like go talk to the community, sit outside the gas station, say what's up to the kids, like make yourself known. It defeats a lot of that like overarching authority kind of like you know, it's just like, oh, hey, there's Maurice. Hey,
There's another human.
yeah, hey, I got a question for you. You know, you can help me because you're an adult and you seem like you got your shit together, right? Instead of this like looming kind of like hand on gun, you know, like eyeballing people, you know, it's like,
exactly.
I'm curious about the funny experiences that you get to have as a police officer. Like, tell us some funny stories. Like, I can only imagine some of the characters that you may come across with this kind of job.
Oh man, it's it's interesting. It's your level of humor. My level of humor is kind of dark, so it fluctuates, right? We have guys climbing poles in front of Chick-fil-A to, to kids just want to do foot races behind the school, right? I don't know. They're creative people. Just think of it like this, right? All the comments you read, we get it in real life, in real time, and we get to see everybody, and there's no filter because they know we can't do anything to you based off of what you say. So they just let it go. And
that was one of the things that I wondered about.
It's cool.
Because watching some of the videos with what's going on in Minneapolis, I know we were talking about this earlier, and ICE is different than being a police officer. I do want to note that I know that, but like, I've seen some videos where people are not having that freedom of speech. And I was wondering if maybe the laws had changed. I've always still been verbally respectful towards any police officer because I just don't want to. I've been arrested once. I don't need to have that experience again. But I think, yeah, like it takes a certain level of, I don't know, courage, I guess, to be able to speak at an officer in a certain way. Like, I don't have that.
No, that's why I think they're confident. I applaud it because I can tell you now, when I was growing up, I didn't have it either. I'm like, never talk to police like that. You crazy? No, the way people come up to me and say certain stuff, I'm like, yo, that's a good one. That was funny.
Yeah.
So I look at it from that type of space. So like I say, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
So what's the hardest part of your job?
The hardest part is taking somebody to jail because the law said they have to go to jail, not because they deserve to go to jail. That's probably the hardest part. So,
what kind of situation would that be? Like a domestic dispute of some sort, or?
No, it wouldn't be domestic dispute. It can just be any type of convoluted thing. Yeah, I mean, domestics over a certain time limit, can qualify under that.
I can imagine
order
it's
violations,
situational too, like knowing a person and, like, I think for me being in that position, it would definitely be determined, like my emotional state as to whether or not I would feel like an arrest or taking somebody to jail would be so circumstantial based on that person and how they respond to their behavior. Because like we were talking about, you're not always in control of your behavior. And I can imagine like arresting a young man, for instance, who like, I don't know, beat up his mom's boyfriend for being inappropriate or something like that, right? Like there's my own internal morale and compass that I think this is why I'm not cut out for that job because I would definitely struggle to uphold that. So, yeah.
I don't struggle to uphold it because I need my job. I have to pay bills. So, it's one of those that they do go with a conversation, all right? It's going to be, hey, I don't agree with it, but this is what it is. It's going to be between you and the judge. I'll write it up best I can to paint this picture to, because it's how we articulate things too, right? You could tell me, the exact same thing you told me, but I could write it up in a way to make your son the primary aggressor, or I could write it up in a way to make your son look like he's defending himself or defending you. But it's going to be based off the articulation of you and, an officer that's if you're not able to articulate, an officer that's aware of that to help you articulate, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't falsify a document in order to do it. But if you tell us a story and it paints your son as the bad person and he ends up going to jail, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
But if somebody takes the time and be like, this, it sounds this way, let me ask you clarifying questions in order to get to the right solution. Because some people rush it because it is what it is. We're on a call, and truth be told, there's always calls pending. So once I get done with this call, I got to go to the next call and then to the next call. So they're not taking the time to be, hey, is this actually this? Because this sounds like this, and I don't think that's where you was trying to go with how you explain the story, right?
Right.
So they have to ask clarifying questions, and it takes a little time sometimes. And newer people don't have the skill to kind of understand it. They look for those elements and be like, boom, okay, I just completed this call. I can finish this and go to the next call. And that's where we jacking up at.
Yep. And that's, honestly, that's where the brain works, pattern, right? Okay, I've been told to look for this pattern. I'm now seeing that pattern. I don't need to explore it anymore. Cool. Next call. We're done, right? You're going to jail. You're free. All right, we're done. And it's like, fuck, man, no, there's so many more levels that we can explore here before we get to that.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and that I love that. It kind of drew me to this last question is like, so being a father, you talked about your 2 kids, you've lived in multiple different cities throughout the your lifetime, and being a police officer, from a corrections officer, like all this stuff. How has all this kind of taught you to be the human that you are and like raise the family that you got now and like just be present and like the moral code that it seems like that you hold on to and that you're like, constantly encouraging and working towards, all this stuff definitely layers in. But like, how does this, what has this taught you about like you as a person, you as a father, you as a human, just this line of work in general?
Treat people how you want to be treated because you don't know when it's the end. That's all I got. That's the only thing I tell my son all the time is like, hey, if you don't want nobody to treat you that way, don't do it to anybody else. Everything else, you free game, buddy. Like, he's witty. He's so witty. It's funny. He's kind of a smart aleck for his age. I allow it because it's witty and less disrespectful. His mom hates it because it's witty.
Yeah, like, I wonder where he got that from.
You feel me? And I get in trouble for not correcting it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not going to, because I think that's what he's going to need in this world. If he can make somebody laugh and still get his point across without disrespecting him, I think he's on the right track.
Yeah.
And it's everything else is treat them how you want to be treated. If you want, that type of energy that you're giving to somebody else come back to you from some stranger, because you're a stranger in this person's lifestyle or in this person's story. Put it out there.
Yeah.
Just want good things at your funeral. Everything else, you making choices. So
I love that.
That's kind of how I run it on. It's not a tight ship by any means.
I love it. How
People
old are your
think
kids?
It's a tight ship. It's not a tight ship. I have a 6-month-old and an 8-year-old.
Got it. Okay.
Oof, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
You'll sleep again. Don't worry. And it's interesting.
Oh, I sleep now. My baby she loves it.
She loves to sleep. All right.
9 o'clock on the dot till 5 a.m.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Look at you.
Look, yeah.
I leave for work at 5 a.m., so it's not even my problem.
Nice. It's interesting because I actually say those same things to my kids, like treat people the way you want to be treated. And then when they find themselves in conflict, I use that as a frame of reference to reflect on their choices. Like, did you make choices that had something to do with this outcome? And,
you feel me?
I've got a 23-year-old, an 18-year-old, and an almost 14-year-old. So, yeah, I will say I feel rather successful as a parent using that as a compass. And I think as a police officer, that is so beautiful. Yeah, I'm really grateful. I would love to spend more time. Maybe we'll do another interview hearing more specifically about like your childhood and your upbringing and things like that. Cause I'm always so fascinated, like to hear somebody like yourself have the tools that you have regardless of the fact that you are a black kid growing up in Birmingham, like that's rare. I hope you know that. Like it's rare to be able to be a 7th, 8th grader and finally facing, you know, discrimination on some level and just being like, that's not for me. Like that's your hate to carry, you know, like that's such a powerful thing, a powerful message for anybody, but I think particularly children and the kids that are growing up now, because the one thing I see that's really difficult for the youth, and I want to say the youth, but in general, is like rejection, right? The fear of being rejected keeps people from living the lives that they really dream and desire. And yeah, I just have been really grateful. I love that I bumped into you and that I took that second breath, because when I first saw you and I thought of the idea, I was like, don't just run up on somebody and ask them, hey, do you want to talk about what it is to be a black man in the police force? But I took that second breath and I got clear that I could just ask, you know, and you could have rejected me. You could have said no. But I was glad that you didn't.
Yeah. Not a problem at all. I'm happy you asked. Because I've been on this kick lately of I'm not turning down opportunities just because they make me uncomfortable. So again, on what you said, you know, about rejection, yes, our fear of rejection is real. I still get sweaty palms now when I'm about to ask somebody for something, and it can be very minimal. And I'll be like, oh, I got to ask this person I don't normally talk to. I get it. I'm trying to learn to embrace it and, you know, get comfortable in that space. And if I can get comfortable in that space, I believe that, you know, I'll be unstoppable. But it's hard. It's hard because I'm 35 years old and I still, you know, get those sweaty palms from time to time. It's not with everything, but it is with some things because it's still there, right? It's all about that conditioning that we'd had growing up. So yeah, we got to figure it out.
Yeah. Thanks to your mom and dad and all the other support systems that you had in place to get you where you are today.
Oh yeah, big facts. I think that everything happens for a reason. It doesn't happen to you; it happens for you, regardless if you like the cards you dealt or you don't. It's your cards to play. You got to learn how to play it. It's when you don't want to play is when you start falling into problems, and it's like, yo, we're born. We have no choice but to play.
Dude, that is my new alarm clock wake up fucking noise. That last 3 sentences you just said is going to be the thing that wakes me up every morning now. That is the most amazing shit. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Well, Maurice, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for keeping us safe in this area and for just being you, man. We really appreciate you.
Not a problem. Thank you. Thank y'all for having me. This is, you know, my first one, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll definitely chat again, man. Thank you so much, brother.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you for listening. Remember to like or subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening to. And if you found this episode helpful, please comment or share it with a friend. Check out the show notes for links to get in touch with myself, Awa, or our guest. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. This episode was recorded, edited, and produced by Adam Reel.